I'm Tom Morbido, a school psychologist with the school district, and I'm being joined today by fellow psychologists Marianne DeSaro, Karen Staub, and Kim Quirk. And as you know, in the next few weeks, school will be starting, and our students will be entering a new grade. And for some of our students, they're going to be experiencing some big changes in what that new grade will present to them. And we call this movement or change a transition. And there are three key transition years in a student's academic life. The first being entering kindergarten, the second being going from 5th to 6th grade, and the third would be leaving middle school and going into high school. So let's talk about what we can expect when a student goes into kindergarten. Kim, first of all, what's the district requirement for students upon entering kindergarten age-wise?
Millcreek's policy is that they have to be 5 by September 1st of that school year before they can enter kindergarten. And it is much more different than it used to be. The standards that we expect from children are higher than they used to be. And it's just a more challenging time. Kids are coming from all different levels. They're coming from a home experience, some from preschool, and kids are at all different levels. So it's a really challenging time for some children.
So let's say you have a May, June, July child. What should parents look for? What should they consider when they make that decision? Do I want to send my child to school now or wait that extra year?
There's many different areas. You know, academics obviously is one area that we can explore. Social, emotional areas are things. Age is probably not the best determinant, but it is a fair determinant when looking whether a child is ready or not, because it treats all kids equally. So that's why it is age. Parents should look to see if a child, when they're the alphabet, counting skills, shapes and colors, they don't have to know those skills, but they should be able to be instructed to learn those skills.
Or even just exposing them to those skills.
Just exposing them to those skills. And to be able to sit for a short period of time, even with supervision, to be able to play, to be able to follow routines, simple rules, are all things parents want to look for to see if their child is ready for kindergarten.
So then as far as preparing your child for that move into kindergarten, then what should parents be doing?
Read to your child. Read as much as possible. Do counting activities. You know, spend a lot of time with them. You know, talking about school. Be excited about it. Cuddle, hug them. Enforce a routine at home. Get them used to a routine so that when they have to follow a routine at school, it's not as tough for them. Encourage positive behaviors. You know, respect and responsibility. Maybe set up a time to do chores at home. You know, so they have some responsibility. And if there's any way to do play dates to get some social skills, those are great things for parents to do.
So as far as preparing, you know, the child before school starts, what are some key things you think a parent needs to do?
Possibly visit the school. You know, if you can get up to the school before it starts, usually in kindergarten they do have a set date where you can come to school before the first day and, you know, ride the bus and meet the teachers and just see the school. If you can do that, that's a great opportunity. But make sure the week before you're getting the bedtime routines down, you know, they're sleeping good. You know, have a set place where they're going to be doing their homework, or, you know, where they're going to put their school supplies when they get home, and just be real excited. The more that you're up about school, your child will follow your lead.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Now we've taken our child into the elementary program, and now lo and behold, they're leaving 5th grade and they're going into middle school. And Marianne, what is the focus of the middle school?
Well, the focus of the middle school is more, it's the balance of needs. They still need to have that parental guidance and supervision, but they're going to be starting to have more independence. And they're going to pull away, but parents need to maintain their supervision. Peer interactions dominate this time period, as well as children also begin to have self-reflection and self-awareness. And the focus is mainly an exploration of new interests. In middle school, what makes it different than elementary school is that there's more of a team approach. Children will be assigned to teams where they'll have 4 of their core teachers, and they really will get to know their teachers, and the teachers will get to know them very well. There's a move towards more independent learning. They're going to apply the skills that they learned from elementary school and extend them. But the focus is mainly exploration of new interests. There'll be some encore classes, the way that the schedule is arranged. There's encore classes where they have the family consumer science, which involve the the sewing and the cooking. Industrial tech is the woodworking.
Okay, so that's the old home ec and shop that we were used to when we were in school.
Right, and that's a key focus of middle school. And also in middle school, the team, as I said before, that's a major feature of middle school. And built into the schedule, the teacher's schedule, is a time period where they are actually, it's purposely done for them to arrange to meet with parents. And I would say as parents, utilize that. You should at least meet with the team at least once a year. And if you're not able to do that, make some connection with your child's school team, whether it be by phone calls, whether it be by email, a note in their planners, some type of overture to them. Organization becomes a major feature of middle school.
Just managing that locker, I bet, is a big challenge for some
Right,
kids.
and as opposed to having just the cubby in back of the room like elementary school, they are going to have a locker that they need to maintain the organization of their locker, their notebooks. They're going to have 7 or 8 different teachers as opposed to just a handful at an elementary level. And they're going to have homework. Homework is going to be a big feature of middle school. It's fairly consistent. They'll probably have homework almost every night, at least in one subject area. So
right, and you mentioned notebooks. Just from my experience as a parent, getting those notebooks early, getting those school supplies early can really relieve a lot of the stress and anxiety that the child will feel when they go into school. What kind of changes can a parent expect in their child at this age?
I think developmentally, that's probably what parents need to understand the most. This middle school time period, which is roughly 10 years to 15 years of age, is a period of very drastic and rapid growth and changes in the child's body. There's physical changes, emotional changes, social changes, and even their cognitive, their thinking changes. Their hormones are raging, so to speak, and there's a lot of shifting going on with that chemically in their bodies. And so they change quite a bit during this time period. In fact, it's second only to infancy. You think of an infant, how much they change between birth and 12 months of age. A child undergoes tremendous changes during this time period, and that's something that they have to cope with as well as parents. It's also a time where there's a vast difference within the same peer group. Their growth pattern, their developmental pattern is maybe much different than their peers next to them, and they have to cope with that.
Okay, so then some characteristics then of the middle school child would be?
They require lots of sleep. They need activity, they need good nutrition, they have concern about peer acceptance. They have a strong need for approval both by their peers as well as parents.
And be part of a group.
Part of a group, that's very key to them. But they also can be very self-conscious and sensitive to criticism. They believe that their problems are unique and hasn't happened to anyone else and is never as bad as what they're experiencing. They're very trendy. They have fads as far as fashion and language. They develop their own language. They need time alone. It's not unusual for middle schoolers to want to be alone in their bedrooms and do some of that self-reflection that I spoke of. They have very rapid and unpredictable mood swings, and that the social skills sometimes lag behind their cognitive and their physical maturity. So even though they may look adult-like in many ways, their thinking and their judgment is not always on par to what they may look like physically.
Okay, so then what can parents do to prepare themselves for this change?
Maintain that same routine and structure and meals and all of that as far as family life goes, but I think that parents need to can maintain their role, their consistent role as far as attending any of the transition events that the middle schools have planned, as far as orientations, open house, conferences like I mentioned before. If your child's involved in a sports or a club, attend those events. They need to have the necessary materials for class. Teachers are very specific about what they want you to get, and I think parents need to wait and to be informed by the parent as far as what specific notebooks or binders are going to be required. There needs to be a set area for homework. I would say keep the book bags in a set area of your household so that a child is less apt to forget materials that they need for the school day. Parents should expect homework and supervise homework. The child will be able to do it independently, but they do need to know that you're aware that what the homework is. Homework is a key feature of middle school. Parents will get information about accessing the homework website that we have on the computer, and you can find out what the upcoming assignments, the tests, the projects that your child has, as well as any other important notices about field trips and things like that. Parents also need to be vigilant of the child's progress. There'll be mid-quarter sent home. If the parent notices that there's a decline in grades, you should be very quick to make that overture to the child's team. As I said, we purposely arrange that for teachers, and we want you to communicate with the school. And I would just say overall that parents need to maintain supervision as well as allowing the child appropriate independence. Okay. It's probably the biggest feature of middle school.
Okay, thanks. Well, now our middle school child is graduated and is going to high school, and I know one of the big changes, they go from earning grades but not really credits, and now we're going into a credit-bearing kind of situation where when a child passes a class, they get a credit and they need so many credits to graduate. Karen, what are some pointers, academic pointers you can discuss with us, for parents and students?
I think this final phase is actually their last phase of mandatory school attendance. Once they're finished with high school, they're no longer required to attend school. So this is going to be a preparation for their future choices as far as adulthood, going on to college, going on to careers, that kind of thing. The three themes of this time are rigor, relevance, and relationships. The curriculum becomes more rigorous. It becomes more challenging. It's actually preparing them for what they're going to be doing in terms of a specific interest. And that's where relevance comes in. They're going to be pursuing some things. They're going to have opportunities to pursue some things that are of interest to them, are of interest to their abilities, their skills, their unique needs. And the last thing is that they're going to be developing relationships, many of them that might last a lifetime. Children's and young people's relationships change as they go through the years. Initially, they're friends with people because they have common interests. If they're in scouts together, or if they're in a sport together, or if they go to an art class together, they become friends based on their level of interest in one another in a common theme. As they go through high school, they become friends with a little bit more depth. They become friends with more commitment to the relationship and to the friendship. And so the high school is very characteristically somewhat emotional around those relationships oftentimes. So those are things that are going to happen during high school. As you said, credits count. That's a very big deal as they come to high school. There is no such thing as a social promotion at the high school level. They will be promoted based on their success in a class. They will earn a pass or failing grade and earn a related credit. And that's going to be very important, not only in acquiring those credits towards graduation, but also in looking at what the associated grade point average is with that. If they're earning A's and B's, their grade point average is obviously going to be higher than if they're earning C's and D's, and that's going to lead to implications for where they're going to be able to go to college, et cetera.
And those sorts of things. Okay, do parents at this age, Karen, still need to establish routines and structure for their kids, or are they old enough to do it on their own?
Absolutely. Routines are very vitally important at this point. Adolescents don't like routines, but they definitely need them. Many times when we see students who are failing, we speak to parents about it, there are oftentimes parents will say, I can't get my child to bed at night, I can't, they're up all night, they're listening to their music, they're doing those kinds of things, and they're having difficulty getting them to school in the morning. One of the things that we do know is research has shown us that kids who come to school regularly, have good routines, do better in school than youngsters who don't have those things in place. They also need to have times that are devoted to studying. They need to have rules around that. Just as everybody talked about study habits and study areas and those kinds of things, it's just as important at high school. They need to establish really good study habits. They need to study without distractions, whether it be the internet or their cell phone or those kinds of things. And the parent needs to supervise that process. They need to know what they're doing. They need to know that they're doing their homework and they're not on the computer surfing the web or whatever. So it's important that parent provides supervision at that point in time. I think parents need to really be available to ensure that the routines are followed. it's a little bit different from when they were younger. When they were younger, you were involved in guiding them through the routine. You were prompting them to.
But there's more hands-on from the parent.
Right.
At that
There's
age,
a lot
right.
more hands-on at that point. Your role as in the high school is simply to be present to ensure that they're happening, and that the child usually can follow the routine completely independently, but you may need to be there to make sure that it's happening.
Maybe do some checks and balances kind of thing,
Right.
and actually act as a safety net if they get themselves, in too deep academically.
Right. One other thing, diet and exercise is very important. We have tried very hard in the school to eliminate soft drinks and those kinds of things from the food choices that kids have available, but we do know that kids who eat healthier do better as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kids who exercise, have an outlet for their energy, have an outlet and feel more successful because they're more in touch with their body and just really doing well in regards to that. And another area that comes up is jobs and employment.
Mm-hmm.
Kids can't wait to get jobs at this point. You'll hear even middle school students
Mm-hmm.
talking about getting a job. While jobs and employment are really, really valuable things to teach children about money and responsibility and those kinds of things, at no time should that become something that the student pursues over academics or over other types of interests. Kids need to stay involved in their academics, but they also need to take advantage of the opportunities that in high school, such as sports or clubs or debate or forensics or whatever they're interested in. Many service clubs, those kinds of things, those kinds of experiences are just as valuable as employment. So we would encourage parents to make sure that students keep employment in a certain perspective. It doesn't become a consuming thing.
It's like they have all their life to work, but they only have
Right.
these high school opportunities once.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And another thing too, at this age, kids become a lot more mobile. They start driving, and with that added responsibility, if a child has a tendency maybe to want to spend less time with homework and more time out of the house with friends, again, parents really need to, monitor that as well. What about some in-school activities, Karen, and parent involvement in activities with their children?
I think that's one of the things that I would encourage is that parents know what their children are doing in school. Know what clubs they're involved in, know who their friends are. Oftentimes, at this point, youngsters tend to grow away because they can be more physically independent. They can go to activities on their own. They're driving, they're doing all those kinds of things. Or they have friends who are driving and who are picking them up. But parents still need to be very involved. They need to know, they need to attend the parent support groups that are happening at the high school for various sports or activities. They need
the booster clubs.
The booster clubs, those kinds of things. They need to invite their children's friends into their homes so that they see their children's friends, they meet their children's friends, they know who they are. They need to know those youngsters' numbers. That when they're looking for their child, they know where to find them. They need to make sure their child is where they say they are. I think sometimes parents are hesitant. There's a lot of respect for the youngsters' privacy, but at the same time, there needs to be an accountability. And so I think parents need to balance that opportunity to give them some independence and privacy, and keep that in balance with making sure that you're continuing to monitor them.
Right. We want our children to become more independent at this age, but we also want to make sure that with that independence also becomes safety, and they're using good judgment.
Right.
I wanted to dovetail off what Karen said about middle schoolers sometimes wanting to be around high schoolers, and I think developmentally and safety issues, it's important that parents are aware that there is a big difference between a middle schooler and a high schooler, even though they may think they can act that way or may even look like they can blend in well with high schoolers. There's a big difference developmentally between the two groups.
I think another opportunity that parents have is particularly in the initial phases of high school, students aren't actually transporting themselves. And they may want to stay for activities, they may want to come back to school for activities. And while that is somewhat of a burden to the parent, it is still really, really important that the child have the opportunity to do that. Whether it's organizing carpools or doing something so that you can get your kids back to school for an activity. And again, what we do know is kids who are involved in school and have relationships with their teachers, their peers, the administration, all of the aspects of high school do better when they're connected. And so you want to foster that connection, and some of that fostering involves lots of hours in the car driving them around.
And I think to lessen that burden too, the district has an activity bus, which will take children home after the activity, after school.
Right.
Okay, well, As far as transition, I know we've covered a lot today. Are there any closing thoughts anyone has regarding this, these crucial times of the year?
I think the universal theme is that keep your child involved. I mean, not just the academic school, a part of school, but also, with the PTA, with the ice cream socials at the elementary level, with the dances at the middle school level and the teams, and then, continuing that through high school. I think that's the universal feature of all three levels.
I agree. Parental involvement in routine seems to be the theme that we're all talking about today.
I think the other thing too is being responsible in regards to communication. Every one of the schools has a student support office, has a main office that's more than willing to help you, and I think it's really important for the parent to call in when they have a question. Rather than worry about something or wonder about something, there's a number of ways to find out information, whether it's to go to the website and look for information on the website, homework is on the website, activities are on the website, there's all kinds of information on the website for a parent to access. At the high schools, I know at many of the elementary and middle schools as well, parents can directly email a teacher using the website. We also give out those emails at the beginning of the year so that parents can email a teacher directly if they're having a question, and that's a very, very convenient way for a parent or for a teacher to respond. Oftentimes teachers have difficulty getting to a phone to call a parent back during the day or even in the evening, but if they have a moment, they can email back much more quickly if a parent emails them. So what I would say is be very assertive in regards to the communication that you have with the school. Find out about what's going on. Call the student support office. If you will get mid-quarter reports, you will get these things sent home, you will get letters sent home. If you're not getting anything, that's probably a sign that it's being redirected, intercepted somewhere. So you may want to call and say, did the kids get, mid-quarters and those kinds of things. And we get calls like that all the time. Don't be embarrassed. It happens frequently at this level. So, please make sure that you call with any questions you have. Whatever you do, don't sit and wonder. Call.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. But before we go, Marianne, how can parents get a hold of you if they have further questions?
They can reach me at my three schools. They're Asbury, Walnut Creek, and Grandview, and they can just call the main office and they'll get the message to me and I can return their call. Okay,
and Karen?
I can be reached at McDowell Intermediate or McDowell High School through the Student Support Office, and at the Millcreek Learning Center through the main office.
Okay, and Kim?
I'm at Richfield, Vernondale, Tracy, and Westlake Middle School.
Okay, and they would contact the offices there
main
as well?
office there as well.
And I'm at Bell Valley, Chestnut Hill, and J.S. Wilson. And again, if you just call the main office, then they would forward the call to me. Okay, well, thanks again, everybody.
Thanks.
I think we've thrown out a lot of information on parents, and if they have questions, please feel free to call us. Until next time, I'm Tom Morbito, and I'll see you later.